Good morning, everyone. I call this meeting to order of the Assessment Appeals Board, and doing our roll call, it appears as if we have a quorum. I would like to note that Lance has to leave by 9:45, so if we continue on beyond that, we may bring in our alternate Connie, and it depends on what time we start. It looks like there's only one confirmed hearing here. I would like us all to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready? Salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Forgive my voice, I woke up a little froggy this morning. I haven't been able to clear it all day, but I think I can still talk long enough to get through what we have to do today. Do we have any comments from members, staff, anything you want to tell us about? Introduce a new council?
Jeff Keown, Chief Deputy County Counsel. I wanted to introduce, I think he introduced himself earlier. Jason Barnes has recently joined our office and is now assigned to be your counsel. So we're happy to have him. He is a resident of Exeter, and but has worked for the last 10 plus years in New York City, actually.
New York City.
But has come back to us here, and we're happy to have him.
Welcome.
Happy to be here.
Anything else? So if we have any parties here who are going to be giving testimony, we need to swear them in. So if anyone here who is going to be talking on any of the agenda items should come up and be sworn in by the clerk.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you are about to give in the matter now pending before the Assessment Appeals Board is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Please state your name for the record.
Daniel Scott Dumas, I do. Zach Brown, I do.
Lee Moore, I do.
Myra Padilla, I do.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item number 5 on the agenda has been withdrawn and moved to the withdrawal calendar. Item number 6 also has been withdrawn, moved to the withdrawal calendar. Item number 7 has been withdrawn and moved to the withdrawal calendar. Item number 8, Cottonwood Commercial Properties, has been withdrawn and moved to withdrawal calendar. Item number 9 has been withdrawn and moved to withdrawal calendar. But we do have item number 10, which is the next one I will call, which is Daniel Dumas, application number 2023-00268, application 2023-00269, and application number 2023-00270.
So I think that the applicant filed, but because this is a single family owner occupied residence, the assessor is required to present first in this case. And I have some handouts.
Correct.
Yeah, I have some handouts for the board.
Yes, you're welcome to come up to the speaker. The assessor will present first, and then you can ask him questions, counter.
Would you like handouts now or when
When it's your turn to speak, we'll ask.
appraisal, and then this is going to be the actual presentation. So we can take a look at that too.
Thank you.
So this is application number 2023-00268, and the applicant is Daniel Demas. So the reasons for the applicant filing the appeal, the applicant is contesting the December 2nd, 2021 purchase price of $1.35 million, does not represent the full cash value or fair market value of the subject property as it's defined in Revenue and Taxation Code Section 110. So Revenue and Taxation Code Section 110 states, for purposes of determining the full cash value or fair market value of the property, of real property, other than possessory interest being appraised upon a purchase price, the full cash value or fair market value is the purchase price paid in the transaction, unless it is established by a preponderance of the evidence that the real property would not have transferred for the purchase price in an open market transaction. So just a brief sales history of the property. July 7th, 2019, the property did transfer for $1.1 million. This was an open market transaction. The December 2nd, 2021, the applicant purchased the subject property for $1.35 million, and at that time, a loan of $945,000 was provided by the owner's lender. So the market value of the property had increased by about 22.7% between the 2019 and 2020-21 sales. The increase in market value is very similar to other single-family residential properties in the county during this time. So the subject property is located at 39990 Kings River Drive in Kingsburg. The gross living area is 3,804 square feet. It was built in 1993. It's 4 bedrooms, 4.5 baths. It has a garage of 824 square feet. It has a pool and spa with waterfall, outdoor kitchen, detached garage of 560 square feet. The lot size is 982 square feet. Again, the sales date is December 2nd, 2021. The sales price was $1.35 million, which equates to $354 roughly a square foot. Some other pictures of the subject property. It is located on the Kings River. It's a picture of the dock that is in the backyard. These pictures are also from the 2019 sale, just because we didn't have pictures from the 2021. Just wanted to disclose that because it was an off-market transaction for the 2021 transaction. It wasn't on MLS. So here is the comparable sales location. You can see the subject property and where it's located right there in the middle. Comparable comp 1 is also a riverfront property. Comparable cell 2 as non-riverfront, and comparable cell 3 as non-riverfront. Here's a picture of comparable cell 1. It's located at 40605 Road 32 in Kingsburg. Gross living area is 2,672 square feet. It's built in 1972, 2 bedrooms, 2 bath, 764 square foot garage, 43,560 square foot lot, riverfront property. It sold 6/23/2021 for $1.35 million at $505 a square foot, and it was listed on Tulare MLS. Comparable cell 2, located at 39325 Holly Oaks Lane in Kingsburg. It has a gross living area of 3,572 square feet. It was built in 2014. It's a 4-bedroom, 3-bath property with a 1,335 square foot garage. It has a pool. It's in a small gated community there. The lot size is 1,859 square feet. It's a non-riverfront property. It sold 5/7/2021. The sales price was $1,150,000. That equates to $321 a square foot, and it was actually listed on Fresno MLS. Comparable cell 3 is a new construction property. It's located at 2998 Fairway Drive in Kingsburg. The gross living area is 3,303 square feet. It was built in 2021. 3-bedroom, 3-bath. The garage is 1,046 square feet. Lot size of 23,958 square feet. It's also a non-riverfront property. It sold 5/5 of 21. Sales price $1,052,500, which equates to $318 roughly a square foot, and it was listed on Tulare MLS. So in summary, based on the assessor's office appraisal that we provided to you and the applicant, the purchase price did fall. It was off market, but it did fall within the range of the comparable sales that meet the conditions of Section 110 and Rule 2. At the $1,350,000 was determined to be the full cash value. And the burden of proof by preponderance of evidence could not be met to give a reduction based on the appraisal.
Thank you. Mr. Dumas, if you have documents for us, you can hand them out, and questions, it's your turn.
Thank you for your time. I know it's valuable. Yes, you have 9 copies of each. That's what we were told to bring.
Was there any extra copies too? Thank you. Thank you.
Everyone has a copy?
Yes, sir.
You're welcome to proceed.
Thank you. Just a little bit of context. The home we purchased was at arm's length, but it wasn't on market at the time that was approached to buy the home. We had just relocated into Kingsburg from Kentucky, and that family got weird, to be kind, and would not let us inspect the house, would not let us see the house. There were no other homes at the time. You're just out of COVID, right? So it's 2021, and there's just not a lot of inventory. So, and this is just context. It's not your burden, but it's our problem. But we purchased the house anyway. We didn't have a place to live. We needed a place to live. And so we executed the transaction through much toil and travail. Got into the house mechanically. Air conditions didn't work. It was a disaster. So we put a lot of money into the home. And then we proceed forward. We're paying in, our taxes through our UBS account. It didn't get recorded right. Nobody takes ownership of that piece of it, but it didn't get recorded right. So now all of a sudden I get notices of penalty. There's a real problem, and I'm paying UBS my taxes, but it's not getting transferred. They're sending it to the tax office, but the tax office is sending back because it didn't match the numbers, the recorded deed. So there was a lot of confusion around that and interaction with the tax assessor's office. And then I get the bills, the adjusted tax, which is fair if it's a 135 that, you know, you can recalibrate. That's what Prop 13 says, you recalibrate. No dispute there. I am disputing the 135, the value of the home. And as I ask questions about how do they value that, how do they do it, and every year subsequently, including this current year, they've gone up over 2% on us. So every year we're going up and up and up. It makes it harder to even sell the home because the tax burden becomes a burden for anybody that would purchase that building. And so no inspection, no access. I'm getting these escape assessments, you know, hit all the time. We paid all of that for the record. We paid all that, but it's just not what the house is worth. And so when I begin to discover, like, how are you evaluating the house? And I'm talking with Alex primarily. He's like, well, I came out there. I said, really? You came out? I said, you did? I said, and he said, yeah, I came by. And I said, did you go in the yard? And he said, yeah, I went in the yard. I said, really? It's gated. You didn't go in the yard. Because I'd know. A, I have cameras. B, you didn't go in the yard. It got real silent, and then Lisa engaged in the email, and I have the full email thread. Lisa engages and takes him off the case completely. He disappears, never talk to him again. I then interact with Lisa. So, you know, there's some fibbing going on. So I'm just asking, how are you doing an assessment? Well, we're super busy. We can't see every house. You know, we're only a small staff, but you increase every year. So my position is that the housing market is depressed at this time. It's cratering. So everybody listed, the comps I've given you, you can see on the back of my document, I have 5. Everybody's listing 1.4, selling for 1.2. Even up there on the screen, those comps, I never saw those comps. That's not the comps that he presented, that Alex presented to me. I have those comps that he presented. That's not the same comps. They went back, you know, and because there were no comps around the area. So, and then they said, well, we do this river assessment. I was like, river assessment? I live on the water. Well, as you know, if you know anything about the Kings River, it's only active 90 days. It's dirt right now, you know. So it's, you know, it's primarily sand, and it's not by the Corps of Engineers and by the 1944 Flood Control Act from Pine Flats. It's not a recreational river. So I'm getting assessed for living in an elite place or a river access. That's not the purpose of the river. The river is an irrigation river. Now, do they let us play on the river? As you saw, the previous owner had some jet skis. Yes, but that's 90 days. But I'm being assessed. And so all I'm asking for with each time I call the office is clarity. It felt like to me, don't know for sure, that they were just looking at Zillow and hitting me for 2% no matter what. So the CCLI that year was 0.5%. So why would it go up 2%? I'm thinking I'm under Prop 8, you know, where I've got depreciated, or I'm sorry, I'm under Prop 8 and a decline in value. I shouldn't be getting an assessed benefit. I should be getting a decline. And I asked them, do you ever go down in taxes? Oh, yeah, on a regular basis. I'm like, really? I check with all my neighbors. Theirs aren't going up. I go and visit. I said, I need to see your tax records, you know. They're not getting hammered, but every year I'm getting hammered. And on one occasion, because I'm pushing, I'm being gracious, but I'm pushing a little bit, the person said, well, I'll make sure I assess your house every single year. So there was a threat. It's in the documentation I have before you. So they make a threat. And I was like, that's low ball, but I'm a big boy. We'll handle that when it comes. So every year, including this year, I'm getting assessed 2%. But it's not 2%. It's 2.4, 2.5, 2.8. It's above. So you have 1% assessment, right, in Prop 13, and then you get the additional, you know, the way the voters have, what they've agreed to, you know, participate in taxes. That should equal up to 2%, you know, but they're shooting way past that. So it's increased on an unfair value. There's an incredible increase every single year, and I'm not sure why that is. And then we have in the middle of this, we have this flood, all right? It's by the governor declared a disaster area, Kings River. We flood this outdoor kitchen, everything. You know, everything gets, that dock you saw gone down the river. You know, everything's gone. I take on damage. I try to work with FEMA. I say, hey, what can you do? So again, there's another piece. So I'm thinking I'm under Prop 8, decline in value. I've now got a disaster relief. It had to be declared by the governor, right? And that was 22, 23. I had to have damage of 10,000. I was way in excess of 10,000. So I'm asking this body for some relief. In the purchase price, it was unfair. That's not necessarily your burden, but I just wanted to give you the context to be fair. And B, I'm getting hammered every single year. And my tax, I mean, it's a $30,000 swing a year for me, and it just seems extraordinary. I do not think the team is doing their work and truly driving out there and assessing the property, or at least come out. I even offered, I said, I'll meet you. There was no desire for that. You know, I said, it's just not what it is. I have all the bills for all the repairs. I mean, it was a disaster. And so I'm just appealing as just a homeowner. I'm not aggressive. I don't, I'm not trying to make a statement with this board. I just felt like I'll come to you, I'll make my case, I'll appeal. And you can see all my arguments there under Tulare County Tax Assessor Dispute. There are 10 or 11 of them. And all of the comps, you can see them. They're asking for 1.4, they're selling for 1.2. You say, what do you think the house is worth? I think it's 1.2. I think that's a fair assessment. Everybody's asking. 2 homes sold on my street, and they said, well, those don't count. Well, they're not the same comp. But that's true, but it is saying that they started at 1.1 and they sold for 800. Everybody, it's a declining market. If you look at it today, it's probably going to be on the upswing. It's back growing, and that's part of the deal, right? I get value in that. Taxes come up. You get value in that. No burden. But at the time, I'm contesting 21, 22, and 23. That wasn't the case. And these comps that he put up on the screen, those aren't ones I ever seen. The ones that Alex sent me were not those. And there wasn't anything really too comparable. I have found comparable where you've got 3-car garage, about the same square footage, a little bit on the property, but all of them sold under that. Alex gave me a comp that was 1.8 million, but they started at 2.4 million. So the market's doing this, and taxes are doing this. I'm just saying, how can I solve that? I'm in an awkward position to contest that. And I went through the normal thing and was told, no, it's fair market value. I don't think it's fair market value, and I do think there's excess taxing. I mean, I could not misunderstand Prop 13, but every time it's over 2%. And everything in Prop 13 says a max of 2%. And that includes, by my reading of Prop 13, that includes all the accessory taxes of a county that the voters have approved, right? A bond issue. That year, there were only 2 bond issues approved, one for marijuana, which doesn't take effect in Tulare County, and the other was Sequoia College. There was a big bond. So that's $10 per 100,000, so $130. Well, that still doesn't match this number. Now, there are tons of other ones, your school district, that I don't participate in unless I'm in the Kingsburg district or whatever. So I feel like I've done my work. I just am seeking from this board some grace, some compassion, and some understanding of what's going on here. I do think that the team gets frustrated when you push back on them, and they overspeak, and they overspec and threaten me. That's a retribution act, and I didn't take that lightly, but it's there. And again, they keep saying they came out to the house. They did not come to the home. Alex can say, oh, I drove by the home, but I asked him specifically, did you go on the property? He said, yes. I said, you didn't. That tells me you never drove by because you would have saw a gate. You can't get on the property without it. So I don't know if you need to go through all of the different.
Do you have anything else to add other than the evidence you've given?
Let me just look, sir. No, sir.
Okay. Can I ask a question from the county? Has his property tax increased more than 2% in any one year?
For sure.
Yeah, the 2% is the ceiling for the assessed value, and what they add on top of that is not only bonded indebtedness, but any type of memorial districts, school districts, all that stuff is added to the 1% tax rate on there.
Right. To get to 2%, not a max of 2%. You can't go over 2. That's what Prop 13 says. You have 1% for assess and up to another % in all the other issues. And there's a whole, I have your document.
That's not correct.
Not correct?
Well, I'm just saying as you read it, that's what it says. I don't know, you can say it's not correct, but based on your document, it was. I'm just saying.
Yeah, the maximum increase per year is 2% of the assessed valuation. Then the bonds are totally separate from that, and every county, every city, every district has a different bond, and those are not included in Prop 13 when it passed. So it set the initial value and the maximum increase of assessed value at 2%. Proposition 8 is if you felt that you have lost value since your original value, and if other properties are declining in value, and you can prove that, and we've certainly had hundreds of hearings on those, reducing value back in 2009, 10, 11, 12, and so on. But recently, we have seen that the property values have risen every year consistently, even now, still rising. So if you feel that the newer valuations are off, I mean, you could look at Prop 8 for that, but I think the county's comps are pretty clear. Yeah, and I'm a real estate broker, 45 years experience, and it sounds like a fair market purchase price on the river. And although the river has its issues, it is desirable to be on the river. People want to be there. They love it, and that adds a value to the properties. I have people that would love to buy on the Kings River, despite the flooding, the dirt, the people that ride their four-wheelers down the sand when you're not there. So I understand the things that go with it, but I apologize if the county, if you felt they mistreated you. They've been wonderful to the vast majority of the people we've worked with, and but I mean, those are my thoughts about it. Anyone else have any comments?
Well, I would say on my records, the 2%, it doesn't mention all the other. It doesn't list all those. So just on my actual bill, it just lists base value and new value, and that is over 2%.
Yeah, what it is let's say your assessed value at, let's call it 1.3, can go up a maximum of 2% per year. Then it's the 1% ad valorem tax rate on that, plus the other things, which is bonded indebtedness, schools, memorial district, there's a litany of things. It
Where
should
is
be
that
on your bill.
stated?
I can get that for you. The auditor's office is actually what does that, but I can show that, send that to you if you'd like.
Yeah, I'm just saying, when I get an assessor's bill from you guys, it doesn't say any of that. It just says base year value, enrolled value, and a change.
What bill are you referring to?
It might be the notice.
That's just that's a notice, that's not a bill.
It's not the actual bill.
It's a notice to notify you of your value.
Right, and that
It's not
went
a bill.
That went up over 2%, is my point. You can run the numbers, I get a calculator if you'd like, but.
No, you're measuring the change, maybe the supplemental value change, or the roll correction for the change from the prior base year?
Yeah, change from base year to base year.
That can
Just on
change,
the
that's the,
property.
yeah, that can change by more than 2% once the base year is established, because it's an acquisition-based system in Prop 13. So whatever the market value was at the time, the prior owner's tax bill was not based on the market value, right? It was based on their prior Prop 13 values when they purchased the property, many years possibly prior to that. So that change can be 2%. But once your base year value is established, from when you purchased it, the market value, then after, it only increases by 2%.
Right, so these are subsequent years increasing over 2%.
I don't know how to explain that.
What may have happened, and I see it all the time, is so if I have a client who bought a property in 2022, and by the time the assessor got to the reassessed value, it was 2024. So then they send the notice that your tax, you owe for 2 tax years now. Your basis went up the first year you bought it, your basis went up the second year you bought it, and it looks like it's more than 2% because they're adding it to it. But it's still, they established the base year in the year you bought it. If you bought it for $1 million in 2022, and the previous value was $600,000, there'd be a $400,000 increase.
I'm not contesting
And then those would each increase, and that's probably what you're seeing.
No.
If there's something else that you think is an accounting error in that, I'm sure the county will work with you to make certain that that's been properly.
Yeah, I'm just showing every year I'm getting tax bills, and from the base value to the new enrolled value is over 2%.
Right, that's
And
the
this is
prior.
all this is referencing is the house. When you look at it says, it talks about land, structure, growing improvements, PP. mobile home fixtures, personal property, and then a less
The
exemption.
percentage change you're measuring though is the prior owner's base year value. It's catching the tax bills up to date because it becomes reassessable as of the date of the change in ownership. And
Yeah, I
then we
saw
have to
some-
catch up because we're working
No,
sometimes 3 years.
I have that one, and I paid
Yeah.
220,000 taxes on that. I have that one. These are in addition every year since then, 2%.
I'd be more than happy to go through that with
Yeah.
you and look and explain that outside of the hearing.
That's fine, but that's part of my case, that it is going up over 2%.
Okay, I get it. Then it goes to the board then.
That's why we're here.
Yeah.
I already had those conversations with the tax office.
Do I have any questions?
Let them have time to settle things amongst the county.
No, I think the primary issue here is the issue of valuation. The billing issue, I think, is secondary, and we can explain it, and who knows, maybe there was type of error if it's an actual bill and not a notice, but I'd have to look at it because I can't obviously see it from here.
Yeah, and the other piece of it is, I wanted to see criteria. I asked 5 times, what is the criteria of your evaluation? There is no criteria. They won't produce it. And then they say, oh, there's a river assessment. I appreciate your statement. It is true that people want to live on the river. That's just not a part of the law. That's a subjective, not an objective. There's no science. So what they're doing is they're going out to Zillow and they're looking. If they saw everything.
They don't look at Zillow.
Well,
That's absurd. They don't look at Zillow, you know.
well, somehow 30 billion are, but what I'm saying is it doesn't matter, but they gave me no criteria. I have email documentation. Please send me the criteria.
It's
No
Revenue and
criteria.
Taxation Code, Section 110, that establishes the basis for fair market value assessment. So if that wasn't provided to you, I did try to contact you, you didn't
Never heard of
call me back, I did
That was
send you a
week-
letter,
that
you
was a
didn't
week ago.
respond.
That was a week ago.
Right,
Never received
so-
a letter from you.
Right, okay,
I mail every day.
and we can explain it still out of hearing as well too, yeah.
Does anyone else, panel members, anyone have any comments?
I have a couple questions for county council. Can we go to a quick closed session?
Absolutely. I would move that we adjourn to closed session. Okay, I call the meeting back to order after our closed session. And I would entertain a motion regarding item number 10, Daniel Dumas, application number 2023-00268, application number 2023-00269, and application number 2023-00270 regarding the assessment of the property.
Well, and just to be clear, you are appealing the base year value, and that's what we can rule on. Those big increases and those things can be discussed with the assessor's office, but what we're tasked with is your base year valuation. And so we find on these base year applications that we accept the assessor's recommendation in those values for all 3 years.
So it's been moved and seconded that we find for the assessor on application number 2023-00268, application number 2023-00269, and application number 2023-00270. All in favor, say aye. Aye. And no opposition, so motion carries. Thank you so much for your time, and I hope that they can help explain some of how that works to you, Mr. Dumas. We appreciate you coming in.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question for Mr. Dumas. Did you still want written findings of fact in these appeals? Okay. And you have? Okay. Okay, and Jocelyn, he's paid for findings? Thank you.
If I'm appealing the 2%, that's not you, it's now charging me annually based on their own records.
No, I don't believe they, if they've charged you over 2%, they'll reduce it.
What?
If they have somehow charged you more than a 2% increase, they'll reduce it. I don't believe that they have. I think you're misunderstanding the numbers, but yes, and then if you find that they did not, you'll have to appeal and bring it back.
Okay, so we're still in an appeal process, because the numbers are factual. They're their numbers. They're not my numbers I'm appealing, they're their numbers. It is clearly 2%, and it only states structures, fixed personal property, et cetera, you know. So I'm just saying, like, that doesn't solve the problem. I'm appealing two things, the original base, I'll accept your opinion on that, but now I'm saying they're still going over 2% off that number.
That's a different issue that you'll have to, they can help you with that, and it'll ultimately up to the auditor's office, the tax collector, who issues the bills to double check those calculations. But it's not this board that can deal with that.
Well, that's what I was
particular issue.
told when I went to the window and paid the $300, that's who does this. That's why I'm here. So now it's a different office, you're saying? Sounds like Doge needs to get involved.
The assessor's office will coordinate this and help you sort this out. Okay?
Assessors and help are two oxymorons, but yes.
We'll still help you. Bring the bill, and I think we can explain it. I think we can clear it up for you.
Sure, I'd love to.
Okay.
Okay, next item on the agenda, I would entertain a motion to accept the stipulation on number 11, application number 2023-0078, and item number 12, Wells Fargo Bank, application number 2023-00215, application number 2023-00217, and item number 13, application number 2024-0042. Can you read those into the record? And
Yes, so I'll read them back to back, just like you did.
yes.
Okay. So stipulation for change in assessments, Assessee Damn Fine Chicken LLC, application number 2023-00078, assessment number 800-268-883-000, fixed improvement value of $125,431, personal property value of $9,997, with the net taxable value of $135,428. Stipulation for change in assessment, Assessee Wells Fargo Bank N.A., application number 2023-00215, assessment number 800-266-696-000, fixed improvement value of $97,162, and a net taxable value of $97,162. Application number 2023-00217, assessment number 800-231-209-000, with the fixed improvement value of $320,368 and a net taxable value of $320,368. Stipulation for change in assessment, Assessee Polymer Pack LLC, application number 2024-00042, assessment number 800-270-269-000, with the fixed improvement value of $7,121,287 and a personal property value of $339,927, with the net taxable value of $7,461,214.
Now I'd entertain a motion to accept the stipulation.
I move to accept all stipulations as presented on the agenda.
And I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Is anyone here from Tulare Hospitality Investors LLC? If not, I'll entertain a motion for denial for non-attendance.
I move,
Denial for non-appearance.
I move item number 14 on the agenda be denied for non-appearance.
And I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. And finally, what's, we've got some petition to have applications deemed timely. Number 17, Dutch Brothers LLC. Do we have any comments on that? I would accept a motion that we, no, I don't think they're supposed to be here. It's a petition to have an application denied as timely.
I can give you a history about the appeal if you would like.
What's that?
I can give you a history about the appeal.
Okay,
Okay, so this assessment appeal application was submitted on October 24th with a postmark date of October 18th. A notice of late filed application was sent on October 24th, which stated that the applications for SCAPE assessments must be submitted within 60 days of receiving the assessment notification from the assessor's office. The SCAPE notice for this application was dated August 16, Since the application was received on October 24th with a postmark date of October 18th, 2024, it is considered late. The 60-day mark was October 15. The applicant filed a petition on December 3rd of 2024 requesting that the application for change assessment be deemed timely. However, they aren't here today.
okay. So I'd accept a motion to deny the petition for it to be deemed timely.
Yeah, sorry, I'm looking,
There isn't.
go for it.
I make a motion, we deny for non-appearance the petition to be deemed
Timely.
timely filed, yes.
We should not have to do these motions right after April 15th, I gotta tell you. Reading words. No, I second the motion to deny application number, or item number 17.
All in favor? Aye. Motion carries. And then finally, I would entertain a motion to accept the withdrawal calendar as submitted.
Make a motion to accept the withdrawal calendar as presented.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Do we need to make a formal motion on 15 and 16 to accept postponement?
I think
Jocelyn?
those are automatic.
Those are,
Those are automatic?
I believe so.
we
Since they
haven't-
were postponed to July 21st, they are removed, they were pulled from the calendar.
All right. Meeting adjourned.